through some monuments. Perhaps I could say a few words introducing some monuments. Of course, the Taj Mahal is the most known monument of India, outside of India and inside of India. It's a very marvelous piece of architecture with nice gardens and nice fountains. The most famous monument in the world was built by a Mughal emperor. His name, I think, was Shah Jahan, who built this monument as a tomb for his favorite wife. Himself, he was imprisoned not far for the rest of his life. Yes, it's the most famous place in India. Myself, I've been there 3 times, and I'm always very satisfied of my visit. It's a real beauty. It's was the height, I think, of the Islamic art. It's kind of Eden that was built. A few words about Varanasi. Also was called Benares. The first time I went there in 1971, so more than 40 years ago. It has not changed. Still has this old medieval character with ghats going to the river Ganges. So ghats are the steps that go down the river. They are sacred. You have to take your shoes off, even if the water is very polluted. In some places, it's the color is very dark, very sticky, and it smells very bad. You can see a lot of rubbish floating, all sort of object floating on the water, and people, they have their ablutions. They have their ablution there, so it's a very sacred place, very old place. The facade is very typical, very recognizable for anybody who has been there. It's something very special, Varanasi. You go back in history, and you are right in the middle of a religion that has been defining much of India. It is in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Also, it's not very accessible. Trains are sometimes difficult when there are festivals, and in that state there are a lot of big festivals. Some very big that happen. One happened, I think, every 12 years, Allahabad. And over a period of I don't know how many weeks or months, they gather more than 60 million people, 60. They say, so a lot of people. So the trains are difficult to take sometime in India. You have to book in advance, to buy a ticket in advance. Not always easy, and find the right train in these stations. Often there are thousands of people in the stations, and you expect a train on one platform, and then the train arrives on another platform, and so on. For tourists, there is some train facilities for buying tickets for foreigners. They have reserved tickets for tourists. We have to pay in foreign currencies, and I've used it once. This from Mumbai. It was very useful. Otherwise, the train, they can be booked 1 week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, and more in the case of holidays and then celebrations. So this is Varanasi. When I was there, they were building a big bridge over the Ganges. It was very interesting. I rented a bike and visited extensively the the city, and also with taxi. Taxi is all around the cities. It's full of temples. The city has not changed very much. It's not modernized at all. I think there is only one very small that they call the McDonald's. The family was not the McDonald's, so it has not modernized very much. It's now a bigger city than it was first time I visited it. It's still in the old, very old city. The streets are more alleys. They are not straight, and you have to find a place to overpass cars. There are plenty of cars in these streets. Once a car enter into the hotel, cars are really sacred. Other monument beside those that I just mentioned, there is the Shore Temple in the state of Tamil Nadu. It's a place called Malamapuram in the Gulf of Bengal. It's not far south of Madras, now known as Chennai, but also the old people still refer to the city as Madras. The temple is dedicated to the goddess Shiva, and it's also a monument that is protected by UNESCO. Other big temple is one in Delhi. There is some in terms of monument at Jaipur. I've not been in that trip, but in the previous trip in the 90s, I think, or beginning of the 2000, went to Jaipur in the center of India. Also, many interesting things to see. There's a palace and there's a museum and an astronomical research center, an old one made with stones he has a solar clock and things like this, very sophisticated. So a few things to see there. Beside Agra on the road there is Fatehpur Sikri that is very interesting. You would see on the photos they look like fort with some small coupole on top. They are very old. At Fatehpur Sikri, they date from the 16th centuries. They were built by I don't know his name, a king that married. He married three women, one Muslim. He married one Christian and one Hindu. Muslim. He built beautiful places, and it was liked very much, apparently, and for what he had built. I think his name was Akbar. Yes, his name was Akbar. It's a famous name in that part of India. Not far from there, at Mathura, there is the place where the Krishna, the Hare Krishna, the one with the small bells and the kind of pink dresses that they were in the 70s and 80s. They were in America. Very interesting place to see also, with a lot of temples, and it's a kind of sacred place with big festivals there also. Mumbai, beside the train that I mentioned at Telegraph. And now there is other nice monuments like the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel. There has been some attacks. Was built in the beginning of the 1900s. It's a luxury hotel in Mumbai. Although people they throw their garbage in the sea just in front, or not far just a few hundred meters from there. So a very nice place. There is the terminus. Also, you'll see some photo. The big train, the big train stations is something that is something to see. There is the Door of India, also that is popular, and yes, this train station dedicated to Queen Victoria is quite something to see with the big cathedrals, Anglican cathedrals around. Also, they are clearly visible on the photos. In Mumbai, there is also a big cinema industry, and it's the financial capital of India. Perhaps a few words on Delhi. It's quite a chaotic and very noisy city. City has gone bigger and bigger all the time, very polluted, but with some English urbanism, big street, boulevards with trees on each side. So there are big parks. We'll see large parks. Interesting. There's the fort, the famous fort of Delhi. It was built also around 16th, 17th century. There's a parliament. There's many things to see. There's a museum that I have seen on the previous trips there. Also very interesting. Also in Mumbai, I could have mentioned also a few interesting museums, art museum. Also in Calcutta, while I am at museum, a nice museum of locomotives also that I have seen on a previous trip in the 90s. There is the famous, in Calcutta, the famous Victoria Memorial, also very recognizable on the photos with green grass, large green grass around. So very nice place. Was dedicated to Queen Victoria. She was the Imperatrix of India. In Calcutta, there are many other things interesting to see that I could mention, like just the taxi running around town on foot. It's quite a sight. Markets are quite a sight also. Actually, the whole city has some interesting things to see. Madras, Chennai also have been in the 90s, and again now it's more modernized, but the city has not changed that much. There is this long beach where you will see on some photos. Some photos are taken there on the beach, people selling things. In the south of India, in the Tamil Nadu, I could mention many cities there, many interesting temples, many places to see, like Mikore is very interesting. On the photos, you will see a big door, a big arc, with a kind of a big monument in the back. Very interesting. I spent many days there. Also in the mountains, you will see I've taken some photos on the mountain. Nearby, but it takes a long time by bus. So there is a place called Oti, which is high in the mountain, and the English in that part of the region were going there for their holidays. It's a very nice place with a little lake. The air is pure. It's very high in the mountain. It's very beautiful. In that region, they grow tea. Yes, we see the women in the mountains with big basket in their back collecting tea. They are paid by weight. Every day they weigh how much they have produced. The whole place is very nice. The roads are very narrow and very dangerous. It's very goes down very, very sharply and up. I could, in the same, yes, in the same state, there's so many places. Go on Biatari also, it's called Ko and Biatari. It's a very nice place also. You will see on photos the old Hindu monuments. Some photos are taken in Pondicherry, also in the same state, which is French, was a French small enclave. More along the coast, the west coast of Bengal, there is many places. I've taken many photos. There's a place called Vajayawada, another place, Viskakaputnam, where you see also some women selling fruit on the beach. It's taken there. So these cities are well deserved by train, but it takes time, and it's not that easy to travel. In the rainy season, there is disturbances on the trains. There's flooding some places and so on. So it's not always that easy. On the west coast, I could talk about Goa, which was for a long time until the 60s, I think, a colony of Portugal, Portuguese colony, which became a big one. The Portuguese introduced a lot of crops. You will see one photo of cashew nut, the green tree. Yes, the Portuguese, they made a lot of, they opened mine, they opened sort of industrial fishing and many things. So that state, I think, is the richest in India. Now it's also a big place for tourism. It has been for many years, but more now. The majority of the tourists are from Russia. They come by big charter. They come for 7 days. Typically, they celebrate, they drink. The women, the Russian women, they strip, and they drink, and they create scandals. Well, there's a lot of Russians, and there's restaurant with menu in Russian, so they are the majority of tourists. Beside this, the second one would be England, and then I think Australians and Germans. Quite many, but they come for a very short stay during the winter, when it is winter in Europe. And they have fun. They don't visit anything. It's beach, sun, drink, and dance. Vacations. Could say, coming back on the Bay of Bengal, there is Puri, that is a very interesting place, also a kind of a holy place. You will see some monuments, some temple in the form of cucumber. I think there are 3 of them, and other temples in the town. A very, very interesting place, not a big place. Walk on the beaches and so on. Not completely safe also to walk on the beaches in this place. There's been some problem reported. Otherwise, it's a beautiful place. Also, you can rent bicycles and interact a bit with the population. Nice food, nice seafood. A place that I like very much. Perhaps another place I will say a few words is Pushkar. It's in the state of Rajasthan also. It's not accessible otherwise by pack-sack or in crowded buses. So it's not very accessible, but a very nice place, very nice village, a sacred place, a holy place, a place of pilgrimages and festivals. And there was some small festival, at least celebration when I was there.